Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Insecurity is still a huge problem across the country, and it's colored every national discourse, including the presidency. This week, President Muhammadu Buhari continues security briefings while the service chiefs address the Senate in plenary on Nigeria's security situation. The president receives a briefing from the Economic Council team and receives President Embalo of Guinea-Bissau. It's time for our Abuja Wrap. President Muhammadu Buhari has been defending the federal government's policy to link the National Identification Number with the Subscriber Identity Module Number. Speaking at the launch of the National Policy for the Promotion of Indigenous Content in Nigerian Telecom Sector and Revised National Identity Policy for SIM card registration, President Buhari insists that the synchronization will provide a digital framework for improving security and strengthening the economy.
We are fully committed to the safety of Nigerians, and linking the SIM to national identification number will significantly enhance security, aid in national planning, budget preparations, etc. It is in line with this commitment that we have initiated a process that will require every SIM to be linked to the national identification number, which is the primary identity database for the country.
President Buhari presided over another emergency security meeting, the second in 4 days. The meeting is coming against the backdrop of insecurity across the country. Aside from the service chiefs, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the President's Chief of Staff, and the Minister of Police Affairs and Defense were all in attendance at this second meeting. In the meantime, the Senate has met with the heads of security agencies to find solutions to the security crisis in the country. After the meeting, which lasted for nearly 4 hours, the Senate spokesman says the upper chamber is expecting the executive to come forward with a supplementary budget for the armed forces.
We spoke just like high-level discussion on general challenges and requirements for us to have an efficient and effective security. The details of whatever will go into supplementary appropriation can only be worked upon by the Ministry of Finance, which is an executive arm, together with our relevant committee. And so we are ready to receive supplementary budget.
Meanwhile, the Finance Minister, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, is clearing the air as regards funding the Nigerian military in the last 3 years to fight insecurity in the country. Mrs. Ahmed, who is appearing before the Senate Committee on Army, says President Buhari prioritizes funding of the military, and the Ministry of Finance is on course to release 100% of monies appropriated to the military in the 2021 budget.
In 2020, the total capital budget for the armed force for the Nigerian Army was 34.37 billion, and this amount was released 100%. In 2021, that is this current year, the total budget for the Nigerian Army is 29 billion. And so far, and we're in May, and this is as at April, we have released 17.98% of that, which is 61.92%.
The House of Representatives is asking the federal government to suspend the planned 2021 census until the insecurity situation in the country is addressed. This follows a motion of urgent public importance raised by Representative Shehu Barwa.
The state of insecurity in Nigeria has displaced numerous citizens and are dwellers of the various communities to be captured in the exercise. Observe that some displaced persons have crossed over to neighboring countries for refuge and cannot be captured in the census if the census is to be conducted. Further, observe that with the overwhelming security challenges at hand, expecting accuracy in any census conducted now will be like passing an elephant through the eyes of a needle. Posting enumerators or ad hoc staff to volatile areas of the nation in the name of conducting census is irrational, as it will be like giving them out to criminals. Caution that conducting population and housing census in the current economic recession will only waste the hard-earned resources of this country as the outcome will be inconsequential. The overlapping effect of active political activities and the national head count shall be prone to political manipulation by over-ambitious politicians. Resolved that the House resolves that this Honorable House calls on the federal government to suspend the upcoming census exercise until security of the country is stabilized.
President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria is ready to raise the existing cordial relations with the Republic of Guinea-Bissau to align them with the strategic and economic priorities of the two nations. The president spoke shortly after hosting his visiting Ghanaian counterparts to a private dinner to break their fast. The president has lamented the security challenges confronting the country, insisting that some people are smuggling arms and ammunition despite the closure of the borders. He said this during the 6th regular meeting with the Presidential Economic Advisory Council. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has been explaining that though Nigeria is facing diverse challenges, it will overcome the problems and realize its potentials. Professor Osinbajo stated this when he received members of a Southwest think tank led by former Ogun State Governor Otunba Gbenga Daniel.
The reason why we decided to come into the party is also, rather than look at the issues from a negative angle, is to join forces with people who are in power to see how a number of things can be done in a much better way. The only way to tackle security challenges is to tackle poverty and to create employment. When a large section of the populace are gainfully employed, you will now be able to isolate people who are sabotaging and who have other sinister motives. But to the extent that we have not successfully been able to tackle unemployment is for us the main preoccupation of any administration. Yes, I had the opportunity of leading the campaign of Atiku. And we've done what we have to do. I finished my own job when he emerged as a candidate and handed it over for other people. So it's not a question of dumping, nothing like that. It's a question of looking at the country the way it is today. This is not the time for a partisan fight. This is the time for everybody to come together, including even the man who you mentioned himself. He must make concrete suggestions, because it's only when we have a country that we can begin to talk of Party A and Party B.
Efforts by the federal government at enhancing power supply in the country dominated discussions at the 44th Virtual Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The council approved all 6 memos presented for consideration by the Minister of Power, Mr. Mamman Saleh, amounting to about 6.2 billion naira.
The Federal Executive Council today approved 6 memos under Ministry of Power. The first one is the award of the contract for design, manufacturing, and supply of critical spare parts for chromosomes grapes 330 kV, 132 kV, and 33 kV circuit breakers. And the second one is the award of the contract for the procurement of 50 sets of 400 AH battery banks, 30 to 50 volts, and 30 number of 110 volt battery chargers for the substation used by the TCM. And the fourth one is the award of the contract for the design, manufacturing, and the supply of 360/66 MVA 132 kV power transformers with accessories.
Welcome back. The Federal Capital Territory Administration wants to vaccinate an additional 50,000 people before the end of May of 2021, and that figure will come from local communities in the FCT. Well, we wanted to see how that was going to work, considering the many conspiracy theories causing vaccine hesitancy across the country. So we went to Saburi village, a place almost an hour away from Abuja city center, and what we found was quite interesting. Please watch this. The 10-day vaccination drive of the FCT is aimed at vaccinating 50,000 people in the communities around the nation's capital. The plan is to mobilize volunteers in these communities across the 6 area councils. The Abuja Municipal Area Council is expected to vaccinate 35,000 persons, 6,000 for Buari Area Council, 4,000 for Gwagwalada Area Council, 2,500 for Kuje Area Council, 1,500 for Kwali, and 1,000 for Abaji. Saburi village is almost an hour away from the city center, located in the Abuja Municipal Area Council in the Gwagwa district. As I make my way to the palace of the Dakachi Saburi, who himself has been vaccinated, I try to find out why he is in support of the COVID-19 vaccination and why he has opened his palace to be the vaccination center for his village.
Ai kaji cewa waga arowa ba shi da gaskiya. Ai an da an kiya biya kunsa mutuwa ana ji tsoron shi. Saboda an sa lura ai gwamnati ba yi abu yana da laifi. Dole ne abu kafin ayi muka rula ma magana an gogi ne. Don Allah ko ki mai mu gogi. Ban samu damuwa ba na samu lafiya na. A yanzu ma yi ma rula na samu wata daya ma ajiwa. Ban samu masalan ba. To dole ne zan ce aya a kona yana da matsala ba zan yi fada haka ba din da ce ayi malula ban san matsalan ba.
One by one, the villagers trickle in to get vaccinated.
The people are very happy for them to receive immunization. And there are some challenges with some people that they say they don't like this thing, government is trying to just, they will not, after some years, they will die with all this. Then I told them that if there is anything like that, government will not make us bring it to us. And they will not tell people to take it. I give some example. If you go and buy paracetamol, do you know how the paracetamol was made? They say no. You buy it with faith and you take it and you are okay. They say yes. Okay. You don't know how this vaccine was made. The people that are there, the government are there. Make sure that the vaccine are very good, are effective and good to prevent COVID-19. And you are saying no. So I don't know. We are trying to convince some people, but they are able to agree. Some say no.
Saburi is a poor village of slightly over 100,000 people, mostly of Digbagi extraction. Skeptics sit around the palace watching people get vaccinated, trying to make up their own minds. Others take the plunge. However, not everyone in Saburi is excited about getting vaccinated.
How can you prevent us from waiting all day?
Others believe it's an awareness issue.
As at last year, we know what happened based on COVID-19. And really, we've been hearing it on TV. And even in my office where I work, I've been vaccinated where I work. And really, I will advise people to take this vaccine because it's really good based on what is happening in the country.
The tide picks up at the palace as more villagers come out to be vaccinated. So far, the nation's capital has recorded 1 case of serious adverse effects following the vaccination and 42 non-severe cases. It is a momentum the FCT administration hopes will continue. Vaccine hesitancy is mainly a product of a lack of trust in government and its instruments. How do we build that trust among the people? My guest walks us through these challenges and how the FCT administration plans to attain herd immunity. Dr. Akonde, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you, Kayla.
There's a plan really to vaccinate about 50,000 people by the 3rd of May, and this is a 10-day drive.
Yeah.
And you're saying that those numbers have to come from rural communities in the FCT. Yeah. We were in Saburi a few days ago, to look at the vaccination drive there, and we did notice a few issues. One of them being that there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy in rural areas, and there are many people who still do not have all the information that they need to have about COVID-19. What's been done about that by the FCT authorities?
COVID vaccine is a new technology, and over time, vaccination have been proven to be safe and effective towards preventing highly infectious diseases. But because the vaccine is new, so a lot of people are apprehensive. There is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of misinformation, myth and conspiracy theories out there on the social media, even on our common other media. So what happened is that there is confusion in the whole world, not only affecting Nigeria. So the hesitancy is driven majorly by 3 factors. Number one is the confidence that people have in the vaccine. And what do I mean by confidence? Confidence is the trust that people have in the process of this vaccine production, confidence they have in the system that delivers it, and confidence that they have in the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. So this confidence is being jeopardized due to misinformation out there. And if you look back, misinformation during epidemic or pandemic is not unusual. It's something that goes and flows with pandemic whenever it happens. So we need to deal with the root cause of this infodemic, because it's infodemic on its own, it's another pandemic that we have to deal with. So I will still come to that. Another factor is complacency. The complacency of the people are those low risk, low perceived risk that people have towards highly infectious, vaccine preventable diseases. So they think it is not important for them to get the vaccine in the first place. That is what we are getting from the people. And thirdly, we talk about convenience. Convenience is that geographical or physical accessibility to vaccination, or maybe affordability in terms of financial factor, or maybe the mode of delivery of the vaccination to the community. So all these 3 factors drive what we are experiencing currently, which is vaccine hesitancy. So in order to address the issue of hesitancy, we need to communicate the right information to the people. So we've been engaging communities, sensitizing them on the need to take the vaccine, on the importance of vaccination, and we tell them that vaccine is proving to be safe and highly effective against all these diseases, particularly COVID-19. And in terms of convenience, we've come up with some strategies to take the vaccine to the doorstep of the people, rather than for them to be looking around for the vaccination center, which could create a kind of barrier to accessibility. So we are taking the vaccine to them so that they will have free, unhindered access to vaccination.
I noticed that you're using traditional rulers in those rural communities. In fact, the vaccination center in Sabori 1 is the chief's palace.
Yeah.
He actually gave his palace. How has that been working, you know, talking with traditional rulers and getting them to buy in with this particular drive?
Yes,
I mean, it was refreshing to see the Sabori chief, you know, being on board with it, getting vaccinated himself, and, you know, trying to get everyone to do the same thing. But how has it been? Has it been the same story across board with other traditional rulers in the FCT?
Yes, thank you very much. A lot of traditional rulers have been quite supportive. Most of them have taken the vaccines. And you know, leadership matters when you are talking about decision making. So these are the role models, to the people in the community. When an individual notices that, okay, my community leader has taken the vaccine, they will be motivated to take. So the leaders have been quite encouraging and supportive in this drive to vaccination. And you know, they are the gatekeepers to all these communities. And beyond them, we still have religious leaders and other leaders in every facet of life. So we are engaging them, we're mobilizing them, and we've sensitized a whole lot of them so that they could buy into this COVID vaccination process.
But why rural communities? Why did you decide? Why did the FCT decide that these numbers have to come from rural communities?
Well, thank you very much. So far, so good. FCT has been able to vaccinate quite large numbers of people.
We're talking health workers, military personnel,
Yeah, exactly.
frontline workers.
Because,
but why rural communities next?
Yeah, that's where I'm still going to get to that. So when we sit back and look at the trend of the uptake, we discover that a lot of people that took the vaccine, they are concentrated in the urban area of FCT. So there is a need to get the vaccine down to the people in the community who actually are at high risk of contacting COVID-19. That is what is driving us. And we want to encourage them because this is not the first time we are vaccinating in the community. We've carried out a whole lot of mass vaccination exercises in the past. Something like yellow fever vaccination we carried out in the community, and it has been quite successful.
Is it the same template that you used for other vaccination exercises that you're using for this, or did you have to create a new one for COVID-19?
Yeah, this is quite different because we are in an emergency mode because of the low uptake. People are hesitant to take the vaccine. So we came up with like some levels of strategies that could help us to drive the uptake. So we set up mobile team. It consists of like 3-man team consisting of a vaccinator and 2 recorders. So they move out from offices, from strategic leadership positions and institutions like banks, like petrol stations, like various, even including the villa. We've taken the vaccine down to all these strategic places so that they could have free access to the vaccination. So secondly, we set up night vaccination team. That is quite interesting because we are in a special and holy month of Ramadan in which a lot of people gathered in the mosque to pray and to break their fast as a community, as in groups. So we tend to reach out to them to drive the uptake, and that is the second strategy we took. And the third strategy is vaccination in the markets. So we've been to various markets in FCT. We've entered the market community. We've engaged, we've mobilized, and we've sensitized market leaders.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akonde, for being here with us on Dateline.
Thank you for having me.
If you've been lied to or used and abused for a long time, you may seem fine, but you really aren't. Trust is broken. That's what has happened between the Nigerian government and its people. There's so much distrust, and you can't blame people for being that way. You can't tell them to just get over it. No, as a government, you have to build that trust. Think about it. COVID-19 is a life and death situation, and yet many people, because of their distrust for the government, are willing to take a chance on death instead of taking a free vaccine from the government. If the plan is to attain herd immunity from the coronavirus, there's still so much work that needs to be done. That's our program this week. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.